Good morning children. Welcome back to online class today. Children, in the previous class, we all learnt about certain terms and definition. Isn't it, mom? What is plant physiology? What is plant morphology? What is photosynthesis? What is transpiration? Isn't it, mom? What are autotrophs? Okay. What are autotrophs? Did you remember? These organisms which can prepare their own food are called autotrophs. Isn't it? What is plant physiology? The study of functional aspects of plants. What is plant anatomy? The study of internal structure of plants. Isn't it? What is plant morphology? The study of external structure of plants. And we learned about the parts of a typical flowering plant. Isn't it? Today, we are going to learn about the characteristics of living things. Okay, mom? Characteristics of living things. Characteristics of living things. First, the living things need food, water and air. Isn't it? Living things need food, water and air. Then living things react to stimuli. Okay. What is the second characteristic feature? Living things react to stimuli. Then third is living things can move. Isn't it? Living things can move. Then fourth one is living things get rid of waste. Living things get rid of waste. Then the living things can grow and reproduce. Okay. Living things can grow and reproduce. These are the important characteristic features of living things. Living things need, what's the first one? Living things need food, water and air. Living things need food to eat, then water to drink and air to breathe. Isn't it, ma'am? Then second one is living things react to stimuli. This, for example, if we take plants grow towards the shoot system grows towards light, isn't it? So grows towards light. Here, light is the stimulus. For example, in touch me not plant, you know that the botanical name of touch me not plant, Mimosa pudica. When we touch the leaves, the leaf closes, isn't it? Here, touch is the stimulus. So, living things react to stimuli. Then third is living things can move. Okay, living things can move. Animals move by running, birds move by flying, fishes move by swimming, and other living things, for example, certain plants they turn to turn to face the sun. For example, sunflower. When the sun is moving, they will move slowly and faces the sun, isn't it? So living things can move. Okay. Next is living things get rid of waste. Okay. Living things get rid of waste. Plants too get rid of waste by transpiring. Okay. Now fifth one is living things can grow and reproduce. Okay. These are the important characteristic features of living things. But non-living things cannot do anything. Isn't it, mom? So, okay, now this living things can grow and reproduce. Here, so you already learnt the flower is the reproductive organ of a flowering plant, isn't it? You all know that flower is the reproductive organ of a flowering plant. Now, you must know the parts of a typical flower. Okay, so listen, this here, this is a flower. Okay, a flower is a modified shoot with limited growth. It's carry out the sexual reproduction in flowering plant. Clear? So what about flower? A flower is a modified shoot with limited growth to carry out the sexual reproduction in flowering plant. Now, we are going to learn one of the important characteristic feature of living things, reproduction in flowering plant. Okay, what is flower? Flower is a modified shoot with limited growth and it's carry out the sexual reproduction in flowering plant. Your flower consists of 4 whorls. Okay, 4 whorls. This is calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. Okay, the flower consists of 4 floral parts, namely calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Name the 4 floral parts. Flower consists of 4 parts, 4 important parts. Calyx, first is calyx, second one is corolla, third is androecium, and fourth word is gynoecium. Okay, these are the 4 floral parts. Now this calyx, this is the outermost word of the flower. Okay, so calyx is the outermost word of the flower, which is green in color and it protects the flower when it is bud. Okay, so calyx of each and this flower, the flower consists of 4 floral parts, namely calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Okay, ma'am. The outermost word of the flower is called calyx, consists of the individual units called what? Sepals. Okay, consists of the individual units called sepals. So this sepal or green, these sepals are green in color and it protects the flower when it is bud. Okay, here is the bud. The calyx protects the flower when it is a bud. Okay, what is the second word of the flower? Corolla, isn't it? The second word of the flower is called corolla. This is corolla. Consists of the individual units called petals. Okay, corolla is made up of petals. This individual units called petals. These petals are brightly colored. It attracts the insects for pollination. Okay, this corolla are brightly colored, or petals. The individual units of corolla are called petals, brightly colored, and it attracts the insects for pollination. Okay, which is the third word of the flower? Androecium. Okay, the third word of the flower is called androecium. This is the male part of the flower. Okay, it consists of stamens. Okay, the third word of the flower is called androecium. This is the male part of the flower. What is that? Male part of the flower consists of stamen. These are the stamens. Okay, each stamen is having a stalk called filament. Each stamen is having a stalk. This is called filament, and a bag-like structure this at the tip. This is called anther. Okay, each stamen is having a stalk-like structure called filament and a bag-like structure at the tip, that is called anther. Now this this is the male part of the flower. Next, the fourth word or the inner word of the flower is called gynoecium. This is the female part of the flower. Okay, gynoecium consists of carpels. Gynoecium consists of carpels. This is the female part of the flower. Okay, see here, it consists of 3 parts, namely, what is that? Ovary, style and stigma. Ovary, style and stigma. This is the parts of gynoecium. Okay, so what are the parts of gynoecium? Here stigma, and here is the style, and here is the ovary. Okay, ovary, style and stigma. What are the parts of gynoecium? Ovary, style and stigma. Okay, ma'am. Now listen. So these two are the essential words of a flower. Okay. These androecium and gynoecium are the essential words of a flower. Why? Because these two are directly take part in reproduction. Okay. So these two are directly take part in reproduction. But this calyx and corolla are non-essential words. Non-essential words of the flower because these two do not take part directly in reproduction. So these two are called calyx and corolla are called non-essential words or accessory words. Okay. So a flower is a modified shoot with limited growth to carry out sexual reproduction. The flower consists of 4 words. What are they? Calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Calyx consists of individual units called sepals. Okay. Individual units called sepals. Corolla consists of the individual units called petals. Now this androecium consists of stamens. This is the stamen. Each stamen is having an anther at the tip and a stalk-like structure called filament. Then gynoecium. This is the androecium is the male part of the flower. Okay, male reproductive part of a flower is called androecium. Then gynoecium is the female reproductive part of a flower. Consists of what? Individual units called carpel. Okay. Gynoecium consists of 3 parts, namely ovary, style and stigma. See here, this is ovary. The long slender part is the style. Here is the stigma. Okay. This is the landing place for the pollen grain. Okay. This stigma is the landing place for the pollen grain. Okay. You all know about this anther, isn't it? Here, this anther lobe. It encloses the pollen grain. Okay. Pollen grain or this anther or pollen sac. It encloses the pollen grain. That is the male part of the flower. So children, you must know what are the parts of a flower. Okay. What are the parts? Essential parts, non-essential parts of a flower. Okay. So these non-essential parts, they do not take part directly in reproduction. Okay. So this androecium, which is the male part of the flower, androecium. Each stamen consists of a stalk. What is the stalk called? Filament. And a small bag-like structure called anther. Okay. At the tip, pollen grains are produced within in the anther within the pollen sac. Okay. So what about the stigma? Stigma is the landing place for the pollen grain. Okay. Now this gynoecium, which is the female part. Gynoecium is the female part of the flower. Consists of carpels. It has 3 parts, namely ovary, style and stigma. Okay. Children, you must know what is reproduction. Then name the 4 floral parts. Name the male part of the flower. Name the female part of the flower. What are the parts of gynoecium? Write down the characteristic features of living things. Okay. So what about the characteristic features of living things? Living things need food, water and air, isn't it? Second one, what is the second one? Living things react to stimuli. Third one, living things can move. Then fourth one, living things get rid of waste. Last one is living things can grow and reproduce. Okay, children, you have to write these living characteristics in your notebook. Okay. So the first question you are writing, write down the characteristics of living things. First one is living things need food, water and air. Second point is living things react to stimuli. Living things react to stimuli. Then living things get rid of waste. Then living things can move. living things can grow and reproduce. Today we learnt only the reproduction in flowering plant. Okay, one of the important characteristic feature of living things is reproduction. So which is the reproductive part of a flowering plant? The reproductive part of a flowering plant is the or reproductive organ of a flowering plant is the flower. Okay, what is flower? Is a condensed modified shoot. Okay, now then you are writing define reproduction. Okay, so your first question you are writing the characteristics of living things. Write down the characteristics of living things. This question you are writing first. Write down the characteristics of living things. Write down the characteristics of living things. Then second question you are writing define reproduction. Define reproduction. Define reproduction. This reproduction is the biological process by which new individual organisms are produced. Okay, reproduction is a biological process. Is the biological process by which new organisms or new individuals are produced from their parents. Okay, that is the definition for reproduction. Then third question, name the 4 floral parts. Okay, what is it, mom? Name the 4 floral parts. Name the 4 floral parts. Floral parts. What are they? Calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. Okay, next question you are writing name the male part of the flower. What is it? Androecium. Write down the correct spelling. Androecium. Name the male part of the flower. Then next, what are the parts? Next question? Name the female part of the flower. Name the female part of the flower. Name the female part of the flower. Female part of the flower. Part of a flower. Which is the female part of a flower? Gynoecium. Gynoecium is the female part of a flower. The last question you are writing, what are the parts of gynoecium? Okay, what are the parts of gynoecium? Ovary, style, stigma. What are the parts of gynoecium? What are the parts of gynoecium? Parts of gynoecium. What are the parts of gynoecium? Ovary, style and stigma. These are the parts of gynoecium. These answers you are writing in your notebook and learning. Okay, children. Now this the parts of why this calyx, you must know why calyx and corolla are called non-essential parts of a flower. Okay, why these two are termed as non-essential parts? Because these two calyx and corolla, these two are not directly take part in reproduction. So they are termed as non-essential words or non-essential parts of the flower. Then androecium and gynoecium are termed as essential parts of the flower because these two are directly take part in reproduction. So these two, androecium and gynoecium, are the essential parts of the flower. Okay, so these what is the function of this corolla? These are brightly colored, so it attracts the insects for pollination, isn't it, mom? So what is pollination is very important for their sexual reproduction. Okay, pollination, and that is followed by the next process, fertilization. So these two processes are important for sexual reproduction in flowering plants. You must know what is pollination. Okay, this is pollen grain, isn't it, mom? This is anther, and inside the anther what will be there? Pollen grain, the yellow powdery dust. Pollen grain will be there inside this bags. Okay, that is pollen sac. The transfer of pollen grain from the anther to the stigma of the flower, that is pollination. Okay, what is pollination? The transfer of pollen grain from the anther. I already told you this is stalk, filament. Here there is the anther lobe or a pollen sac. Inside the pollen sac, what will be there? Pollen grains, isn't it? So this pollen grains are the male part of the flower or male reproductive part of the male reproductive structure. These pollen grain, the transfer of pollen grain from the anther, or we used to say this is anther lobe, isn't it? Or pollen sac. Pollen sac or anther lobe. Within that anther lobe, what will be there? Pollen grain. So the transfer of pollen grain from the anther to the stigma of the flower. This is stigma, isn't it, mom? Stigma of the flower is called pollination. Okay, so pollination. So this is the stigma is the landing place for the pollen grain. Okay, is the landing surface or landing place for the pollen grain. So what is pollination? Transfer of pollen grain from the anther to the stigma of the flower is called pollination. Okay, so pollination is one of the important process in flowering plant for their reproduction. Next, that is followed by for the next process, fertilization. Okay, so what is the function of this calyx? Tell me. This function of calyx is it protects the flower when it is bud, isn't it, mom? So next, corolla attracts the insects for pollination. Then so you must know the parts of a flower. Okay, children, you must know the parts of a flower, and you must write all these questions in your notebook and for learning. Okay, thank you, children. We shall meet again in the next class.